you know, when I was benching 380, I was eating soy all the time. Totally vegan, by the way. So like, it wasn't even vegetarian at that point. I was like full on vegan. So it's like, yeah, you know, it's
Yeah.
works for me. Yeah.
So today I have something super special. I just got to interview Phil Collen, who's the co-lead guitarist for the legendary Def Leppard, and you hear him on songs like Pour Some Sugar on Me, Rock of Ages, Photograph, Animal, Hysteria, and more. But what you might not know is that he's actually vegan and has been vegan for at least the last decade, and I believe went vegetarian back in the 80s. So we're going to talk a lot about that, a bit about his fitness regime, what he eats when he's on the road and at home, as well as, of course, chatting a little bit about the Taylor Hawkins tribute show that he just performed at with actually Miley Cyrus and the Foo Fighters, as well as the big stadium tour that they just wrapped up with Motley Crue, Poison, Joan Jett, and the opening act, Classless Act. So I hope you enjoy it. I will let you know that the first 10 minutes or so, the audio is a little bit choppy because Phil was actually in his car, just heading home. So we recorded the first bit like that, but then he's in his office after that, and it's much more clear. So just, hopefully you can pick up enough from that first 10 minutes. But with that out of the way, enjoy. So how have you been after what was probably one of the biggest tours of the year?
Amazing. Actually, we haven't stopped because, you know, I did the Taylor Hawkins tribute, and we've been rehearsing and just so much. I've been up in LA. We had meetings, and me and Mike and Joe had just been. So I haven't really stopped.
Yeah.
So yesterday was day one of me getting back into shape and everything, and I'd hit my hand. I kind of taped them up, and when I saw you, I didn't. It'd been hurting for a while, but I chipped a few bones, and I think tore a ligament. So they're hopefully it's gonna dash into the but I've got to wait. And how I did it, I was doing a windmill on stage, you know, like Pete Townsend, swinging my arm around and smashed into the guitar. I know. So people go, well, how'd you do it? I say, well, there's a performance art injury or a rock star injury or something, and it's kind of a different one. That's a new one, you know.
Yeah.
So, so that's what I've been doing. I've got to go back. Yeah. So windmill. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. Do you know what show that happened at?
It was earlier on in the second leg. I think it was around the Boston time. You know, we just come back, and I remember swinging it really hard, and it just went bang into the thing. I thought, ouch, that really hurts. But it'll probably be okay in the next day. And it kind of never got. It never stopped hurting.
Oh no, but you don't need
that's
any
why I had the X-ray.
But you don't need any surgery or anything. It should just heal on its own.
Maybe. We'll see how that goes. I've got to wait till the 10th. I've got to go back, and it needs, you know, to snip the ligament. You would know, but I guess the ligament tore a little bit, and there was little fragments of bone. So thank God it was the second finger, because if this one, it would have affected the playing. Obviously, I'm still playing. I've done a Taylor Hawkins thing, and that was fine.
Yeah, and how was that? I've seen little clips on YouTube and everything. It looked really cool.
It was amazing, and it was a wonderful way to honor Taylor. I'd known him for years, actually. When I first moved to California, he worked at the local guitar store and would sell me strings and guitar chord stuff. And how that happened, we were in London doing Top of the Pops, this TV show that was on in England for 30, 40 years or something. And I hear, Phil, and it's Taylor. I'm like, what are you doing here? What, you're at the shop back at home? And he said, I got a gig playing drums with Alanis Morissette. And it's like, wow, that is so cool. And from there, the Foo Fighters, and just a wonderful, lovely, gentle soul. So that was terrible, you know. It was devastating, you know, the news. But it was a great way to honor him. The Foo Fighters, Dave, Pat, all of the guys. It was just a wonderful way to honor such a lovely person. And you know, we got up there, and me, Sav, and Joe with Miley Cyrus and the Foo Fighters got to photograph, and then we also done Rock of Ages as well. That was cool.
Yeah, and I saw Miley actually posted about, I think it was a voicemail that she had received from Taylor saying, hey, you know what, I think you would kill it on Photograph. And then, I mean, that was super cool.
Absolutely. And I'd seen them when they before they started the tour, I'd gone down to their rehearsals, and because I was going to lend Pat my Extroyer, my Jackson, and he saw us play at the LA Forum 40 years ago, and always wanted that guitar. He had a version of my Ibanez one, so I got that out of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's where it was, at the museum in Cleveland, and we had it sent out and surprised him. So Pat got to play that, the original one on stage. It actually sounds
so
amazing.
cool. Awesome. Yeah. And with that, I mean, like you know, we were talking about it back when you were in Vancouver. Obviously, I wanted to talk a lot about the kind of health, fitness aspects, your veganism, and those sorts of things. And you've been vegetarian since like the 80s, right? Or even earlier?
Yeah. That I stopped eating any kind of meat, and I wanted to do it years before that. And you get, it's peer pressure or something, and you don't want to put people out. And I think the very interesting thing with me was that when I finally said, this grosses me out, I can't eat this anymore, I felt really empowered and just felt just better about it, about not eating a dead body. And that was the thing for me. It was like this gross thing. It was, I always say, when they found Jeffrey Dahmer, they opened his fridge and there was body parts. And to me, that's how it felt. All those years eating meat, I was like, these are body parts, and it's really grossing me out. And when I finally, clicked over to doing what I wanted to do and not what everyone else did, it more than empowerment, there was a confidence that I think went to other things. I just felt so much better about being alive,
Mm-hmm. And at the time, it wasn't anywhere near what it is now. I mean, everybody, not even just vegetarian, but everybody knows what veganism is now. So even after you made that hard change, did you ever find it difficult, when you're on the road, traveling, all of that?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like you'd explain it to people and they wouldn't know what you were talking about. You'd be in Germany and you'd ask for, some pasta or something, and they'd put bacon on it, and you say, no, I'm a vegetarian, or they'd put chicken, they'd go, or fish, and it's like, no, you don't understand. And the only place that I would go to where people really got it was when I traveled to India, and you'd go, you'd have pure veg, and because it was a spiritual thing as well, and so that was kind of cool. So it kind of just gives you hope, and it just got better and better over the years. I can remember pretty much starving. I remember me and Rick Allen were in Russia once. This was years ago, and there was nothing. They had this kind of jellied cabbage that they offered us that was vegetarian or vegan actually, but I couldn't actually do it. So we kind of lived on peanuts for a few days,
Oh, no.
and bread and peanuts. And that's happened before. Actually, in the Philippines, I was on rice and mangoes, which I guess is pretty cool, but you know what I mean, limited to say the least. But now it's amazing wherever you go.
Yeah, and I mean, you've been vegan now from vegetarian for about 10 years, 10, 11 years, something like that.
Yeah. And I kind of was before that anyway. I would still, it'd be chocolate and ice cream and stuff like that, and cream in the coffee. But when I got rid of that, I didn't really notice the difference at all. And there's such amazing, cashew nut. I haven't got a nut allergy or anything like that, so I can go crazy on just, anything like that, and it's wonderful.
And how do you eat at home normally? Like, what would a normal day kind of look like for you?
So, well, I can get down, I can chow, I love French fries and kind of chips and salsa and that. So I have to watch that. Yesterday was day one of me really getting back into shape. It's actually working out twice a day and bringing the calorie content down. So you can eat whatever you want, but it mustn't exceed a certain amount of calories. So you can, and I'm actually thinking about going completely raw, knocking the coffee out completely. And I done that before and just felt magnificent, felt like Superman. And people, aren't you worried about the protein and all that? It's like, no, actually, I can do all of this and if you eat efficiently and the nutrition's there, you're actually fine. And I think one of the things, obviously bodybuilders and that, you have lots of carbs and stuff, and yeah, it's great and everything, but I think you can get there by super nutrition as well.
So when you're trying to like lean out, like you're saying, for say tour and that, you really cut down and just go like, strictly whole foods and then, get back into shape, as you put it.
Absolutely. And it's but obviously burning with the workout, but it's also, yeah, cutting the calories and eating the right stuff so that you're fired up from the nutrition. Like you would be, like today I had oatmeal and berries, and I put some of that protein powder in there.
Oh yeah, the one we got over here.
Absolutely, you got me. Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
That was really cool, and that kind of builds me up, gets me going. And this morning I was on the Peloton first thing, 6:30 or something, 7 o'clock, and then later on I'm going to do some weights.
Okay. So, and are you going to document it like last time? I know Helen was like filming those videos or whatever.
I mean, I didn't think about it actually, unless that's a request, then we could.
No, I thought it was cool to follow along.
Yeah.
I mean, people always look at the older ones, I'm sure, but it was pretty cool. Oh, yeah.
That's the thing this morning, obviously. Yeah, all of that stuff.
What about when you're on tour? Like, does your diet change at all while you're out and about, or do you have a strict regime?
I kind of do, but I kind of let it slip a little bit this time because I was wearing clothes, so I didn't really have the vanity loophole thing, So I find that when I'm just running around, I actually keep in better shape because you have to. You look at this, you actually see yourself on the screen. You go, oh my god, oh wow. So unfortunately, unfortunately, we're in the image business. It's there's absolutely an ego thing attached to it. But if you're a performer of any kind, that exists anyway. So yeah, we have a chef Leppard, Jeff, and he just, like, a lot of the time I'll be having like konjac noodles with tempeh and stir fries and stuff like that, and acai bowls. I love acai bowls. It's my but I get so much out of the fruits, blueberries, acai, whatever. You have banana in there, fills you up and everything. Peanut butter. So I love them. That's a kind of a not guilty pleasure, but it's really good for you as well. So yeah, I actually and put the protein in that as well.
Yeah, and just for people listening who maybe haven't seen you perform, normally, or at least for a lot of the tours, you don't have a shirt on for most of it.
Right.
This last tour, you had like a vest sort of thing on.
We had we got this amazing stylist, Miriam Malakapur, and she's really cool clothes. And I think the big difference is there was a look that we were trying to go for that we actually nailed. It actually looks great. And I think just within that context, I like the idea that it makes you feel good when you're in good shape, and you feel good as well. So there's a lots of reasons you do that. It's not just well, look at me, don't King Kong type thing. It's a, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And what about like the other guys in the band? Because I was telling you when we were here that like Vivian looks like he's gotten just shredded now. Like, are your eating habits rubbing off of them? Your workouts, or is it influencing them in any way?
I think so, and I think everyone realizes the importance of that. It's like when you see the Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger is such a inspiration. He's almost 80, but there's more to it than that. He actually he makes the effort, and therefore people, it sucks you in. Actually, you go, okay, if you care, then we care. Whereas if you don't do that, then we see what happens with a lot of other bands. And I think the look in a certain way, dress in a certain way, and using your what's the word I'm looking for? But you're actually you're sharing this music, and it's got to sound like it looks. And I think that you're representing it. And I think that's the big thing. And again, you know, the Stones have always done that. Miriam's actually a stylist for the Rolling Stones, so there's a whole dynamic that goes with that, and it's really important. And there's also the other thing is, like, when you see a rock star or you imagine one, you don't want to see someone who's out of breath or is like struggling to get up there. It's kind of ridiculous. You want to see some virile. That's just the way it is, and I'm that's not down to me. That's just the way it is. It's a virile, exciting, vital rock band. So you want to do that. So yeah, we have a trainer that comes out with us, Jake. He's wonderful. He he's young, and I wanted you two to talk so you could actually get a thing. We'll do that. I'll actually I'll connect you, because it's really important, and everyone's been eating really well. Joe most of the time stays on his tour bus, but he has a Peloton bike on there, so he's been doing that. And yeah, Viv works out. Towards the end, he was starting to do the 2 times a day thing, and you know, nutrition, getting that in, stopping drinking, huge, massive thing. You know, I haven't drunk for 36 years, I think. It really makes a difference to your body, as you know. You know, it's like, you know, I've been on these bodybuilding forums, and some of these guys are going, dude, you know, if you have one drink, you know, you void nutrition for 5 hours. So when you get really into the crux of it, it's really important. So you add all these things up, you know, good nutrition, lots of sleep if you can get it, you know, and working out or being active amongst all that, and not drinking, not smoking, doing all these things, then you end up being in great shape.
Yeah, and I definitely want to. I definitely want to talk about the drinking or quitting, but like, as you mentioned, you know, Joe's working out on the bus and all of that. He, for out of any singer that I've seen live, I've been to quite a few shows out. He sounds phenomenal. Like, you guys as a band sound probably the closest to the records out of anybody I've ever seen, and it's really incredible.
Well, thank you. Joe's thing, he really started taking it very serious after he lost his voice. I think 2016, because it actually didn't come back, and everyone's going, well, you need to have the surgery and all of that. And Roger Love, who's our vocal coach from years ago, talked him out of that and said, look, I can actually get that back. Sounds like you got a frozen vocal cord and you just got to get that back into it. Joe warms up religiously every day. I tell everyone this because I'm so impressed with it. He's never sounded this good, by the way. You know, I sing with him every single night, and I have done for 40 years. And on the last tour, I actually couldn't believe it. I'm like, whoa, this is he sings better for a start off. You know, he's feel and everything, but the tuning and the character of the voice, and it's really down to how he warms up, how seriously he takes it, and all the other things. You know, you stay up all night smoking and drinking and that, your voice is going to be shot the next day. We done the LA SoFi show, which was, I think, probably the best show we've ever done in our career, but just for a lot of different reasons. There was and the next day we had a show in San Diego. So Joe spent 8 hours warming up. I mean, he was doing other things. He was watching the football and he's drinking tea and eating and that, but he's doing all of that. And yeah, 8 hours. And people don't do that. And they go, well, why would you? Opera singers do that. You know, Broadway artists do that. And it's like, why not rock bands? There's a really weird thing that's attached to, I don't know, it's a Samson complex, or it's a this or that. I don't really know what it is, but we're on the other side of that. And Joe especially, you know, he actually really takes his craft seriously, and it's warming up and it's presenting and representing the records and the band and all the things we've been talking about, you know, with the look of how we present it. And it really makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it pays off, I think, huge. I mean, I went to 5 of those shows, and every single time, well, you know, the whole show, you guys, Motley Crue, Poison, like, you can't really beat that. But everybody was impressed with you guys in particular. Like, I always got comments, like, I can't believe how good they sounded, and that sort of thing. So definitely working.
It is. And we warm up. We do the vocal warm-ups for about 2 or 3 hours a day. and we're just doing backing vocals. So, you know, I don't know other bands who do that. So, you know, and I do meet a lot of older rock guys who like won't do that, and then their voice is shot, and then they won't get out there and do that. And it's like, we go, great, it's just more for us. It's like, you know, it's not rocket science. It's like, it's the same with the body. You know, if there's something, you know, something wrong, it's fix it. Or if you can, you know, obviously sometimes you can't, but if it's within your power to do something to make it better, then great. Yeah, give that a shot.
Yeah, 100%. And you said, you know, back in the 80s, you quit drinking. When was that? And why did you initially decide that you wanted to quit?
It was 87. And me and Steve Clark, we were drinking buddies. He was my best friend. And we'd get blitzed all the time. You know, we'd be out and then I'd start blacking out.
I heard about it in here.
Yeah, absolutely. Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I'd be blacking out, and I remember once we drove back, and I borrowed Joe's car. I didn't remember any of it. And we'd had our ears pierced again. And, you know, I bought a watch Steve had as well, and we had no idea. And I was thinking, well, if I'm driving in this state, not cool. I mean, it could have hit someone or crashed, you know, ourselves, whatever. So I said, I can't do this anymore. So I actually cold turkey. Initially, I'd done it in Dublin, and because I had so many extra hours in the day, I started running. I literally would have 2 hours extra where I wasn't groggy or recovering and that. And it was like, wow. So I started running, and I'm not a runner. That's not really my thing, but I loved it. I would do like 2 miles in Dublin on the coast road, sometimes on the sand. And it was like, this is really cool. I prefer feeling like this to feeling like that. I tripped and fell off the wagon a few times, but in 87, just as we were releasing the Hysteria album, I was like, okay, I'm done. And I actually went to India. I was in Paris. I was with my girlfriend, Liz. It was her birthday. I had a little glass of champagne. I said, I'm done after this. And the next day we flew to Mumbai, and and that was it. And I'd never drank again.
Awesome. And you said you were like out running and stuff. I mean, you now wake up at like 5 a.m. just regularly, or 5 or 6 a.m. regularly, go for your walks and stuff. So is that really what kind of led to all that? You just had way more energy?
Way more energy, way more time. And then I started filling the time with meaningful things. And I do think that activity and working out and being good to your body is a worthwhile, meaningful thing. So that all started coming into play. And then, you know, the working out, and then it was martial arts and different. It's like, wow, that's really cool. And again, with that, you know, I'm not kind of, I'm not going to jump in a ring or an octagon with anyone anytime soon, but I will do, you know, exercise. I'll be doing kicks. I'll be doing, well, not punches at the moment, but I'll be doing all these things, and it just makes the hips feel like you're 25 as opposed to 65. And I think that's the reason for that. You know, I see a lot of people like really struggling to walk and stuff, people my age and actually younger. And I think that it's because they don't use it anymore. They stop using their joints, and they stop moving, and all of a sudden, before you know it, it stops working for you. So I think that that's important as well. So the martial arts is really good. I can still wake up first thing in the morning, do a head kick to a 6'6" man if I wanted, but you know, it's like it's good to warm up, and it's good to keep that going.
And what sort of martial arts do you do?
I started with I was always interested in boxing as a kid, and I'd done a bit of judo as well when I was a kid, and then in the 90s I got into kempo karate, and I went to black belt in that, and then started doing American kickboxing with Benny the Jet Urquidez, and that was a whole different thing. It was great boxing and just wonderful hip display, and just wonderful. And then again, that moved on to Muay Thai, and again, it's just wonderful doing all that. I'd like to do some jiu-jitsu, but I actually would do some recently, and they said, well, see how your hand is, because you know you got to grab the gi, and it's like not this week. That's for sure.
That's what James Wilkes, right? You said you were planning to roll with
Yeah,
him.
but and also where Jackson goes, he goes
Oh,
to
right. Yeah.
this gym, and it's really cool, and it's just lovely people, and actually James was going to come down there as well. So yeah, we'll have to see with that, because
Yeah.
that would be great, you know.
Yeah, no, he's really good as far as, as ultimate. I think he won the Ultimate Fighter and all sorts of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. Yeah, no, I actually know him pretty well through all the, plant-based stuff down here. He came down last, I think it was November, for a weekend, and we hung out a bit there. It's really cool.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, and one thing, this is kind of maybe a self brag or whatever, but how much are you lifting right now? Because you told me some pretty impressive numbers when you were here.
Like back in the day, I got up to 380. I weighed 155, and this is pounds. I know you have a different setup up there, but in 380, which is outrageous. After this injury, I had my tendon tore off the knuckle, and I had to wear a cast for 6 weeks. So after that, I was like really tentative, and I haven't really done anything. But on the tour, I got back up to about 235 on this tour. So yeah, I was weighing 148 and doing 235. That's good. That's
yeah, no, that's great too. But I remember that was 2013, I think, when you were doing Viva Hysteria. That's when you were doing
absolutely
the huge numbers.
Yeah, and it was like 2 or 3 times a week. I would do like 330, 350. And then one day we was in Vegas, and obviously there, and we got up to 380. And I think it would have gone even higher, because it was still like 4 reps all the way down and all the way up. So I think we'd have got to 400. But hey, it's kind of dangerous doing that. It's you have to kind of really plan it and kind of work up to it, because like anything else, it's like when you go running without warming up, you can pull something. So you really have to be careful. And me doing, the guitar finger stuff, wrist stuff, it's you have to take care of it even a little bit more. So I'm well aware of that. So it's smart about it as well.
Awesome. And so before we wrap up, I had some questions from people who follow me. I put out a question like, hey, what do you want to ask them? And speaking of the Vegas residency, one of the questions was, do you think you'll do another one?
Absolutely. Yeah. At some point we're getting really busy now. It's just knocking. We thought this would happen. It was after the last tour. Mike Kobayashi, our manager, has been amazing. He's connecting all the dots, and our record label, and just everything's been like going do. And since the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing, it's really kicking off. So next year is going to be fairly insane. It's South America, Europe, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and maybe back to the States, and maybe a Canadian show. And we'll see about that, but we're just getting it together now. But yeah, I do think we'll do another Vegas one at some point.
Cool, yeah, and definitely if you have a Canadian show, I'll be there for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, some other questions I had was, are there any music collaborations you'd love to do that you haven't? Because obviously you've collaborated with a lot of people already, but
yeah, I think it's naturally happening. My favorite band of all time is the Police and Queen. And we've collaborated with Queen a few times, Brian May and everything. And it's just a wonderful. I met Stuart Copeland for the first time last week, and we were talking, and it was like, wow, that would be great. So we'll see, but we're just so busy, and I like collaborating with the guys in the band. Like me and Joe are constantly excited and changing ideas together. So I think that's my favorite collaboration, to be quite honest.
Yeah, and actually that's another thing we didn't even really touch on, but you recorded this most recent album from your own houses on different ends of the earth, right? Just
right
all
here.
Online. Yeah.
Right here on this table, actually. I just had my laptop open instead of my phone, and it was all good.
And you just sent parts back and forth and ultimately put it together that way?
Yeah, I'll show you. Hang on, this is my studio. So that I got awesome. I got speakers there, and I have some guitars there, And that's really it. It's you don't really need a big you do for certain things. If you're doing real drums and an orchestra or something like that, you actually need the room. But for doing guitars, doing vocals, I mean, some of them I would even do a handheld, that like a guide vocal with this is a Shure 58, which is what we use on stage. It's like $99, and I'll do, you know, a rough guide, and Ronan McHugh, our producer and our out front engineer, would mix it in, and he said, there's nothing wrong with this, why can't we use this? So that would happen as well. So that was inspiring. You didn't have to worry about kind of mathematical things and, oh, you need this compressor and all that. It's like, no, you need the ideas, and you need to be inspired, and a really cool performance, and that was it. So I think we're going to work like this in the future, because it really saved so much energy and time.
Awesome. And hopefully then we can get some new music, and you know, even sooner this time.
Absolutely, it's non-stop. It's I was actually doing some last night, actually, again sitting right here, and yeah, it's just we'll see how that goes, because these demos, they're not really demos anymore, they're masters. They turn straight into it. Like we done a rough demo of this guitar when we did the album. I'd written it years ago with my friend CJ Vanston, and Joe said, can you just do me a quick demo of that acoustic guitar? Sent it to him. He done a vocal on a laptop. He was in Lanzarote, and that's the vocal that ended up on the record. It was just like a rough guide, but it sounded great. It had a kind of a vibe to it, and it had a kind of a integrity and everything else. So I think you can do that. I think many times you hear people go, well, it doesn't quite sound like the demo, because there's a lot of the time it's almost like a spirit, and you're capturing this kind of essence in this different form. And when you go and do it properly, or in a studio or something, you lose something. You know, the spirit flies out the door or whatever. But doing it this way, it kind of captures all that magic, if you like. And having said that, you know, we've done some magical things in studios, but it's here and there. So yeah, I love the way we're doing it now, and so it may be a bit of both. So we'll see.
All right, and I have a few vegan related questions from my followers.
Sure.
So I just want to ask those really quick. One of them, I think I know the answer, but what is your favorite vegan restaurant in Vancouver?
Oh, it's the in Gastown. What's it called?
Meat. It's called Meat.
It's called Meat, spelled MEET. Yes,
Yeah.
Absolutely. That hands down, I love that place. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and on that note, because you've been all over the world, obviously, what are some of what you think are the most vegan-friendly cities to visit?
London's obviously really vegan friendly. LA's crazy vegan friendly. New York, insane. Vancouver's great. They're the ones that come straight up. There's a bunch more, you know. You know, even when you go out to Sydney, Australia, there's so many places that you can, you know, get like brilliant salads and kind of, you know, infused things, like, you know, culturally kind of hybrid, you know, vegan stuff. And yeah, they're all over the place. So it's becoming more and more, but generally big cities, you know, big kind of, you know, like Vancouver, San Francisco, you know, stuff like that. They're all over the place, and inspiring. I love it.
And a question from a mutual friend of ours, Maria.
Yes.
She was wondering, she always asked me this actually, but she was wondering from you, do you miss anything from before you went vegan or vegetarian in your case?
Not even slightly. I just wish I'd have done it earlier. You know, it's I just wish I'd have done that earlier. I was pleasing other people and actually displeasing myself. It was making me feel weird, and it's like, oh my God, this is a dead body. That's my approach. Not everyone feels that way, but I didn't. I don't care what anyone else eats. You know, people sometimes they apologize if they're eating a steak in front of me. It's like, you can eat what you like, just don't expect me to eat it, and I'm not going to force my stuff on you. And I think that's the way you get around that. Again, you know, people do come up to me and go, well, you're in such great shape and you've got this great vibe. what are you eating, what are you doing? And then when you say all that, they go, oh, okay. It just makes you feel, I don't know, spiritually lighter. It's the thing, you know. It's the, you're not being dogged down by, you know, karmas of whatever you've just eaten. You know, it's a whole thing.
And I feel like since I've gone vegan, I actually have a much more diverse diet, or I've tried so many things I never would have before.
Right.
And
Yeah.
like I feel like I probably have a more exciting diet than most meat eaters out there, just because
Absolutely.
of all the, you know, all the things that you explore.
What for example, what have you discovered that you would never have eaten before that you're
Yeah, durian fruit. Do you know what that is?
no.
Yeah, so it's really big in Southeast Asia, like, you know, Thailand, Malaysia. Actually, when I went to Malaysia, I went to a buffet. It was all the different kinds of durian, and you just eat whatever. So it's this huge, spiky fruit on the outside,
Yeah.
and it's super heavy. And then you can like open it up, and it has these pods of this like kind of creamy flesh, they call it, kind of on the inside.
Yeah.
And the flavors are so diverse. You can have some that kind of taste like chocolate, some that kind of taste like vanilla, and then some that literally taste like onion or eggs. Like it's
Really?
just all over the place. And it's just so crazy. And I never would have discovered that if it wasn't for the plant-based
Wow.
community.
Have you ever had mame?
Oh, mame sapote. Yeah, I had that in Nicaragua. I loved it.
Amazing, huh? Tastes
Yeah,
like,
I think you guys probably get more in California for that sort of thing.
we don't get it. They do
don't.
it in Florida apparently, and just as you get over the border into Mexico, but it doesn't quite come up here. You need certain conditions, and I think we're just a little bit the wrong side. We're not hot enough all the time. It's got to be kind of a temperate. It's got to be kind of consistent. So I think that's what it is. But no, I love that as well.
Yeah, and the other thing would just be tofu. I feel like I never ate
Yeah.
tofu before, and now there's a million different ways to air fry it, pan fry it, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
All the different ways you can prepare it.
Oh, I think I'll have some of that today, actually.
Yeah.
Talk me into it.
And then actually, there was a question on, it was another interview you did, I listened to, where someone asked about soy and if you're concerned about the like hormonal effects or whatever. Do you get those sorts of questions?
I do. You know, I've got 5 really healthy kids. I feel like Superman most of the, you know, when I haven't got stuff like this going on. So no, and it's really funny that the people that say, well, you know, you shouldn't be eating that. Then you go, well, what are you eating? Because this clearly isn't working. But do you know what I mean? So I don't. I loved what James Wilkes said on the Game Changers when he was talking about that. Sure, if you eat something extremely, I'm sure it's going to, you know, have an effect. It's like, you know, people would say, oh my God, if you smoke hemp, you're going to get high. You have to smoke not that I smoke at all, but apparently you'd have to smoke a hemp stick the size of a telegraph pole before it actually would do that. So I think it's the amount. I think that if you, I mean, I don't know, but I think if you actually just ate that and that's all you ate, I'm sure that it would have some estrogen thing. But for me, no, not at all.
I'll go into nutrition mode for a second, and I'll actually explain that one. So the concerns that people have come from a couple cases of some men who consumed somewhere in the ballpark of like 12 to 20 servings of soy a day. And even then, we don't know for sure if the soy was causing the problems. Like one of them had erectile dysfunction and another one had like some breast growth. But you can't even say for sure in that case that was the cause. And we have trials of like hundreds or even thousands of people at this point where you feed them soy and you see what happens at varying doses, and it doesn't affect testosterone or estrogen levels. So it's really
Right.
like, it's just nonsense. But it was just, yeah, it is funny when that sort of stuff comes out.
It is, and just on, you know, when I was benching 380, I was eating soy all the time. Totally vegan, by the way. So like, it wasn't even vegetarian at that point. I was like full on vegan. So it's like, yeah, you know, works for me. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I mean, that's all I really think I had. Do you have anything else you wanted to add?
I mean, if you think of anything else, we should do this again, because I love these conversations, and it's really cool. So
yeah. Maybe we'll do one in person sometime. How about that?
Yes. Okay. Love that. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for taking the time. I know you're on the road a little bit there. I'll cut it all together. And obviously, congratulations on the album, the tour. It was so cool to hear how excited you were about it when we were talking, because
Yeah,
to us, we think it's just another day, another tour for you guys, but it's not. It's so much bigger than that. So you deserve all
it
of that,
really was.
all the success.
Thank you, thanks.
Cool.
So
And
much
say
fun.
hi
So you're
to
good.
Helen. Yeah.
I,
Go
I
ahead.
will do. Say hi to your mum and dad too, please.
Oh yeah, my dad submitted a question. I wasn't gonna ask it, but I might as well now. He said, "What do you
Yeah.
think of Matt's dad?"
Oh, he's awesome. He's awesome. And I've got I've almost finished that big tub that he got me. And so there's one in LA, because I was up in LA and staying around the corner, and Santa Monica Boulevard. There's all these restaurants and health, supplement plates, and I got another bag of that. So
Awesome.
Cool.
Cool. Well,
I'll start the creatine as well. I start the creatine when I get this finger thing, and when I start being able to push and grab hold of things properly, I'll get back onto that, and I do it properly that time.
Awesome. Well, let me know how that goes, and like I said, say hi to the family. I know I saw Helen, but say hi to Jackson too, and hopefully see you in this coming year somewhere. If not
Sounds
here,
good. Absolutely.
Overseas.
All right, I'll keep you posted on all that.
There you have it. I hope you enjoyed that, and it sounds like we might even be able to do something similar again in the future, hopefully in person. But until then, you can follow Phil on Instagram at @therealphilcollen. You can, of course, follow Def Leppard, and you should be if you aren't already. And if you're interested in more nutrition or health-related content, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel here, and you can follow me on all social media platforms at Dr. Matthew Nagra, so at dr.matthewnagra, and subscribe to my email newsletter, with all of those links being available in the description below. But other than that, I, again, hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you soon.